Can you believe it? 5 weeks. Wednesday, we did some Linux research. We did talk about preventative maintenance, troubleshooting. Did some group work. Took the exam. Really didn't get very far on the networking introduction, but we'll cover that next week. Did a little Fedora research. One group got Discord installed. I think the other group struggled a little bit with it. Most everybody looked at word processing spreadsheets and gathered some other information about the PC. Key items in troubleshooting, no substitute for experience. But beyond that is being able to work if you can find the information somewhere. We talked about the order again. We talked about you have to know what the problem is. You have to understand. Then we talk about this feedback loop, asking good questions and eventually defining the problem. And then think about how you might solve this problem. What does it lead to? Here's where experience really helps. But we'll talk more about solving problems, looking at the OSI model when we include the world of networking with problems. So the theory leads you to test something, and then you keep testing that, and then if you think you have a solution, how would you implement it? You have some plan, especially if putting a solution in is going to affect the production of work being done by the user or whatever. So put it in, test it, make sure it fixes the problem. And here's where we talked about at least one key thing. If you see something else that's wrong, don't mess with it now, come back to it later. If you change something and it doesn't fix the problem, change it back. Okay. Verify, make sure what you fixed didn't create a new problem. So sometimes this could take a lot of work to go through and verify. We should be documenting all the way through. So really this step fits into all the steps. Now the reason we put it here at the bottom is once you solved the problem and you verified, then good documentation would allow the next person, when they're identifying a problem, they could look down at the documentation and maybe avoid all these steps because the solution is already there. We did some more work there at the end. Maintenance material, what kind of tools, equipment, and so forth that you'd have to buy. We're going to look at that on Monday. We'll take a look at all that on Monday, that equipment. And then also the students look up help desk software, looked at some open source, and how would we manage that? We'll also talk about that on Monday. Alright, that is it.